Blessed to be a part of the day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Before we get to Max in Garden City and Gary and Nampa, David Bozell joins us from foramerica.org. And I remember the last time we were supposed to have old David on, he blew us off to go to the dentist.
No, it did not. That did not take long. Right out of the chute, Kevin. You're not going to let me live that one down, are you?
Sadly,
I felt terrible.
Sadly, it's how I show my affection. But yes,
I felt terrible for you, but really more terrible for me because I was in the dentist chair and you weren't, and it was an excruciatingly awful experience. And so people should be sympathetic to me rather. See how I did that? See how I just turned the tables?
I totally agree with you to a point.
They called me. I was like flat on my back. It's like, I'm sorry. I totally forgot.
And how dare your dentist want to take care of you as opposed to giving you 10 or 15 minutes to talk to us?
Well, I mean, this is 1% dentistry. Okay, so it's my priorities are the top. But let's educate and entertain Boise, please. Do it.
David, as Nancy Grace once said to me, I'm the lawyer, you're the reporter. I'm the host, you're the guest. I run the show here.
Okay, fair enough. I am at your beck and call.
No,
I've told all dentists to stay away, and I'm here to serve.
Well, we appreciate that servant's heart that you have. David Bozell joining us from foramerica.org. Tragedy happening in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the press blaming Newsbusters, Fox News, Judicial Watch. I'm sure you'll make the list. Conservative Talk Radio. Can you put it in perspective for us?
Well, yeah. Steve Schmidt says, and the rest of them, which I'd throw myself into that mix. I'd throw you into that mix. Everyone knows my father, Brent, runs Newsbusters, and the terrific blog that basically put the study of media bias on into our living rooms as a critical issue. Steve Schmidt is a has-been, and frankly, I never was, and just trying to stay relevant with some pretty nasty invective. I wouldn't be surprised if legal challenges are mounted against them by various corners of the attack. To suggest that conservatives have blood on their hands for basically a wannabe Nazi who missed the war by about 50, 60 years and wanted to relive it. And what that has to do with our politics, it really doesn't have anything to do with our politics. But Steve Schmidt, MSNBC, CNN too, Don Lemon last night. I mean, he said most of white men are racist and need to be, quote, dealt with. Most of white men. That would be us.
Right.
As if white men are supposed to just sort of sign up for a re-education camp, or else CNN is going to come get us. I mean, it's those two networks are way out of bounds, way out of line, and are out of control. So, but this is the political spin on it. This is why Donald Trump wins. This is why Donald Trump won. This is why I think he'll probably cruise in 2020.
It is amazing. I know you're not a psychologist, but what goes on in the minds of these people? Is it a lost perception of relatability and reality to say that about white men and they must be dealt with? Look, I don't know what Don Lemon did before he was on CNN. I'm sure he's a misguided, nice young man. But, David, you were born into this business. Your family's been doing this. I've been doing this. We have perspective on this, but to say that about any race or any people and to get away with it. Right.
To stay on the air. To not have any advertiser. I mean, as of now, this happened last night, so this is still fresh. But to date, from what I know, no advertiser said, I don't want to be a part of that. This is just sort of bubble, this New York media bubble. The split screen was Don Lemon talking to Cuomo, to Chris Cuomo. So it's just they're two New York media bubble guys. It's almost as if they don't even realize that there's anyone watching them. And there's probably a good case that there's not many people watching them.
Well, was Cuomo ready to turn himself in?
Right, that's a good question. Good question. I mean, he just has that Cuomo stare, like I'm going to get you. That he kind of he gives to Kellyanne, as if he's threatening anybody. But I'm really interested to see what advertiser response there is to the Don Lemon quote. I mean, he basically just threatened white guys, white males. I mean, so I really am interested to see what the advertiser response is, because that is their lifeblood, right? It's not ratings. They don't really care about the ratings. If they cared about the ratings, Kevin, they'd go down, and my father talks about this often, but to steal a line from him, they would go down to West Palm Beach and find a guy by the name of Limbaugh, Rush, and take a blank checkbook and give it to him and say, whatever you want. Whatever you want to do, whatever show you want to do is yours. Whatever amount of money you want is yours.
Right.
And they would kill in the ratings. They'd absolutely kill in the political commentary space. But they're not interested in that. Sure, now they'll claim that they've got an uptick in ratings now because of the Trump effect, and it's just general interest level. But man, out of line, out of control, and I just hope you saw a lot of commentary, Kevin, of a lot of white males on Twitter, and I know this is anecdotal. A lot of people saying that's it for me. I'm never turning on that network ever again. Hopefully hopefully there's evidence of that. Maybe you see kind of like the NFL effect. What happened to the NFL last year when they struggled with some of this stuff. It could happen again.
Well, you would hope that it would happen.
Yeah.
Just based on, just the comments of Don Lemon, and I don't really get that. Let's switch gears. By the way, our great friend David Bozell joining us on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio, from ForAmerica.org. What do you make of, and you and I have talked about her for years, the rise and fall of Megyn Kelly, and then you got the report that, heck, Lester Holt was dressing up as Susan from Britain's Got Talent. Nobody did anything to him. Obviously, you don't do certain things. You don't steer yourself towards the iceberg. But Megyn Kelly and blackface.
Yeah. I don't know if she was trying to make a joke. If she was, it was kind of a bad joke. I'm just not going to be overly critical of the comment. She said basically growing up, people put black paint on their face. And as a kid, her comment was her perception as a kid was nobody had any problem with it. Well, I would hope that would be her perception, because I value keeping a child's innocence. When they're trick or treating, I don't need them. I don't want a kid wondering who am I offending? That's the parent's role, and to the extent that the parents can kind of shield the child from that, I think that's the right way to go. So she comments that she's like, hey, I saw some kids do it, and I didn't see anybody get in trouble for it. And then she gets canned for that. Well, she gets canned really because I think she sort of acquiesced to the sort of Twitter mob, bent over there and apologized, and no apology was good enough. But really, overall, it was not a good fit between Megyn Kelly and NBC. When she was with Fox, she had an entire network, basically 24 hours a day, promoting her. I mean, every other commercial, and this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but every other commercial on Fox was promoting Megyn Kelly's show. At NBC, you don't have that.
Now, David Bozell, hold on. Let me jump in here for a minute, because I do have to ask you something, because I can't figure this out. And of the two of us, you've had the most recent dental work, so that makes you the more articulate one of the two of us here on KIDO Talk Radio.
That's fair.
I don't get towards the end of Kelly's regime where she cut her hair. I don't know if she was trying to say something. I'm a new Megyn Kelly. I'm going to smack Donald Trump. I'm bigger than Fox News. And then she goes back to traditional Megyn, not wearing any of the stuff that she wore on Fox. And people are going to say, that's not a big deal. No, those clothes, the hairstyle, it makes a statement. Can you articulate on that, or is that just, are we off into the dead zone here?
Well, I'd like to have a female get my back here because this is where we're getting into some trouble. But
sure,
in a lot of ways, I think the first part of what you said is absolutely correct, and not wrong. She wanted a different look for a different network and a different show, different type of show, less raw news, more cooking segments. Okay, there's a style that producers are gunning for and aiming for, physically with their anchors. And I think it's nothing wrong with that, for aiming for a certain look, for a certain package to put on television. It is a visual medium, after all. Nothing wrong with that. What kind of statement? I think, we could speculate. I tend to think that it was just, hey, Fox is behind me. That was a more raw news operation. This is not as much of that. I'm going to tone it down and present a different presentation. And then maybe the ratings weren't there because there was a lot of chatter at the beginning, right? Remember that? And if the ratings were not there and the audience didn't follow her, so what did she do? Kind of, perhaps in a moment of, I got to get back to my roots, was she went back to that Fox look to try to, garner those ratings back. So, but I don't fault anybody for doing that stuff. It's a visual medium. You're trying to look appealing, and everyone's going to, go the way they think that's going to work for them. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
I see. Well, we could go on and on about her hairstyle. I think it all comes back to you have to go where you're wanted. She burned a lot of bridges at Fox, and my favorite quote about Megyn Kelly is that Roger Ailes was sexually harassing her while he was simultaneously promoting her and her career. And I go back to what Bill O'Reilly said the first time she appeared on the O'Reilly Factor, when she said she was an intern in D.C. and a lawyer, and that was her first job in D.C., and O'Reilly looks at her deadpan and the magic that Bill had. My first job, ma'am, was in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Right. Well, airing out the heir's dirty laundry it's just not a way that you're going to, like you said, bridges burnt. To probably, there's not going to be any resolution there. I don't know where she goes, honestly. I think it's proven that there's a real void in on-air talent. So somebody will, take a chance here. There's just not a lot of good on-air talent. I mean, look at Don Lemon yesterday; he just can't control himself. Look at MSNBC. They're redoing their lineup all the time. Maybe that's a home. Maybe that's possibly a place where she goes back to a more raw news type of a situation. Brian Williams has kind of made a little bit of a comeback despite his problems.
I'm thinking CNN.
Yeah, but she'd really have to. She'd be a little bit of a fish out of water if she was not criticizing Trump all day, every day. And I just don't. I mean, yes, she was tough on the president during the debates, and they had their back and forth. I just don't see Megyn wanting to play that card in her career. Remember, she's getting paid $69 million to not work.
Right.
So, she needs to go buy a house in Montana and just you'll never see her again. Well, and it's not bad.
Maybe she'll be moving out here. David Bozell, I got to run for America.org, but
thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, take it easy, guys.
All right, our great friend David Bozell. Thankfully, Max is still with us from Garden City talking about the 14th Amendment. KIDO Talk Radio, thanks for your patience. Good morning, Max. Max? Well, I spoke too soon. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here, taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. None bigger than how the press is going after the president for the tragedy in Pittsburgh. It is just crazy what they're up to. We've created a media montage for you, and I want you to listen to this as you're waking up. And again, you're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.
This president has radicalized so many more people than ISIS ever did.
As the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right. And we have to start doing something about them.
Trump had... So before we get going here, this is Don Lemon at CNN, a publicly traded company. Two big clips here, and you'll hear the entire file that we've produced here, Kevin Miller in the morning. After calling on people to turn down the rhetoric, we have the media ramping it up. Quickly, these 2 points, and then we have Max back.
So many more people than ISIS ever did.
As the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right. And we have to start doing something about them.
Trump! Right. What are you going to do, Don? Max in Garden City, we lost you. Good morning, and thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
That's what I get for trusting Bluetooth. Yes, I won't do that again. You know, I think we're spending entirely too much time talking about Megyn Kelly's hairstyle. Let's get down to the real business at hand. There's an invading column of aliens working its way toward our border, threatening border security and threatening to establish precedent that can very well destroy our country. Now, the president cannot, with the stroke of a pen, expect to nullify any part of the Constitution. But what he can do, and what we can do, is effectively police the policies in place, effectively police these aliens. If we want to change the amendment, let's go back and do it the right way. But right now, we need to concentrate on the aliens and on the radical left-wing media, which is not only promoting this, not only pushing this, but at the same time, they are, who caused all the local violence? You can trace it right back to the rabble of the media. They've caused this. They're stirring up more trouble than anybody else. They've declared war on you and me, Kevin.
I would agree with you, Max. I would agree with you.
The only thing we can do, really do, is get up and vote. You remember years ago the throw movement?
The pierogies, yes.
Throw the hypocritical rascals out.
Yep.
We need to do that. We really need to get off our tails, clean that one up quickly, and vote. There are enough of us in the country if we vote, because there are a number of Democrats whom I know are just sick and tired of how their party has been thoroughly hijacked. I don't blame you for being a Democrat. I just blame you for voting Democrat.
Max,
well, that's about my piece. Thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Max.
Bye.
Bye. More of your comments next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. So I forgot my phone, and I love my wife, Mrs. Miller, and she says to me, do you want me to find it and bring it to you? No, I'm a man. I don't need my phone, and I'm actually, during the break, looking for my phone. It's odd, but the phone does not control us. We control the phone. And speaking of the phone, we're going to go to Tom Munns. We're going to go to Christian. We're going to go to Blair and you at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Quick traffic report and some news, and then you with me, Kevin Miller, on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio traffic. Watch your speeds as you're coming out of Canyon County into Ada County this morning. You are being watched. Accidents working at Cloverdale and Hubbard. This would be a rollover crash. Another one on Victory right there at Cole and at 13th and River downtown. Independence Indoor Shooting is Idaho's premier firearms retailer, indoor shooting range, and training academy. Now proud to partner with U.S. Law Shield Legal Defense for self-defense. Visit uslawshield.com for more. That's your Impact Directory Traffic Update. I'm Dave Burnett on KIDO Talk Radio.
Thank you, Dave. KIDO Talk Radio weather from the Channel 7 First Alert Weather Center. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Kevin. Wow, it's going to be a little bit on the crisp side, of course, for Halloween tonight. Make sure the little ones are dressed warm. There's a chance of some showers, but it looks like it'll come in after trick-or-treating time. Same thing for the Magic Valley. High today, though, will be about 53 degrees. I'm News Channel 7's Larry Gebert.
Thank you, Larry. Coming up next, Tom Munns, Christian, Blair, and Steve with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM. 580 AM. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So we have Don Lemon saying white men must be dealt with because they've been radicalized. Tom Munns, TomMunns.com, Munns Tom Twitter. He'll be one of the speakers Sunday at the State House beginning at 1, keeping Idaho red. Tom Munns on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
You know, to be honest, I'm a little leery about what that sounds like. Keeping it red could mean a variety of things, considering that party colors used to be opposite, and we all are well aware of what red is. I love listening to your callers in the morning, Kevin, but I had one thing I wanted to say. You know, I can be negative on the radio, too, and I think we all have those moments when we get discouraged. But when somebody says the only thing that we can do is vote, they're wrong. I'm a living example of the fact that you can do so much more than vote. Voting, when you go in and you understand, all you're doing is spending 5 minutes in the civil process. I don't believe that any of our founders would have believed that the only thing that we have available is to vote. You know, part of voting, you know, you have Christian pastors that come out and say, oh, it's important to vote. You know, it's important to vote, but they don't say that it's important to become educated before you vote. And that's where the mess is. There's a variety of ways to get involved, and if you're only involved in voting, then I would suggest that you find an organization that you can get involved in with like-minded people and get involved. As far as Don Lemon and his white nationalist, I was actually called a white nationalist yesterday. You know, and I thought about it, and I thought, you know, in this world where they're claiming the narrative, I'm going to admit that I'm a white nationalist. Whatever it means, whatever it comes down to, I'm going to break that down into the most simple terms. I'm
now,
not
Tom, where were you
nationalist.
called a white nationalist?
I get that from time to time, along with anti-Semitic and anti-American for my position on the military and a variety of other things. So you can only, and flying the American flag upside down at Tea Party rallies and all kinds of stuff. The reason why I do that is to really try to encourage people in an agitated sort of way, is to be able to get them to try to think out of the box. You know, I'm a white man, okay, and I'm a nationalist because I believe in my country and I believe in this nation under God. You know, they sit there and say they act like being a white nationalist is a problem. But, you know, when you pose the question of being a Cuban nationalist, an African nationalist, or or whatever nationalist, all of a sudden you're no longer racist. So they clearly have they've clearly wanted to use hyphenated, I guess you could say, white nationalists as if there's no separation of other types of nationalists. The other ironic thing about that is they always tout human rights. If they are calling us nationalists, what that means is that they're globalists and they don't support national borders. If they don't support national borders, then I would say that might be a little contradictory in the fact that they are not about human rights at all, because the abolition of borders would upset the rights of other people that are nationalists in their own country. And so these guys need to be challenged. They need to be met face to face. I've believed for a long time that, you know, protesting at the State House is one thing, but immediately going to the media and addressing the issue in whether it be a protest format or it might be just a civil walkabout, to be able to try to help them understand or help them define their terms. The reason why the media gets away with this stuff is because it never gets challenged. It never gets challenged by the boots on the ground. And I think that's where that needs to happen. The other part of this to consider is that, you know, when Trump was talking about abolishing the 14th Amendment, I've read quite a bit on this topic, and the 14th Amendment, one could argue, actually took the citizens, I shouldn't say citizens, the residents of the states and made them federal servants or federal citizens, which put us under the jurisdiction of things like the Social Security card, the birth certificate, the national debt from the British Crown, and so on and so forth. So, there is a method behind Trump. I think he's always 5 steps even in front of the people that are well studied or believe they're well studied in him. But if he's doing something, there's a reason why he's doing it. And attacking the 14th Amendment should put any constitutionalist on alert, saying, hey, Trump really is about something much more and perhaps something much greater than we ever imagined if he's trying to do that. The other reason is because the Supreme Court has flipped through the Bill of Rights doctrine using the 14th Amendment, saying it's because of the 14th Amendment that the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and the Third Amendment exist. So, regardless of whether it's constitutional for him to do it the way he's doing it, let's look at things in a much greater perspective and try to look at all of the other moving pieces. Because if he's going to remove the 14th Amendment, that's going to remove the status of not only federal citizenship, but us being debtors to a government rather than the other way around. So it's interesting to watch. I was really kind of encouraged, actually, when I heard that. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, we'll see you Sunday.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time and allowing me to jabber.
We love you when you jabber. All right.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, Tom Munns. I don't get that. Anyway, we love it when Tom yabbers. But anyway, Kevin Miller in the morning. If you're just waking up, phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. The press has condemned the president and conservative media for causing the violence. We are getting your reaction. Christian in Middleton, thank you for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Christian.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I just have a quick question, but it's about Prop 2. I know that you guys are talking about something else, but real quick, in the bill, does it say anything about raising my taxes as an Idahoan to pay for Medicare expansion? And if it doesn't, then is there a basic premise of the bill saying that, hey, we're going to be able to expand Medicaid and we're going to be able to cover all these other 60,000 people. And because of that, we're going to have access to additional funds that come down from the federal government to pay for it. And in the end, it's going to kind of pay for itself. Those funds are going to pay for it, and we're not going to have to get any funds from the people of Idaho. And that's my first question. And then the second question, I just wanted to make sure I understood what the gap is. Is it really people that only make $0 to $17,000, or is the gap bigger? Those were my questions, Kevin.
Well, Christian, we're going to have somebody answer them. I'm not the Prop 2 expert. The only thing I can say is there are people that the working poor that aren't covered. We've seen this in other states, and I think everybody in Idaho would want people to be covered, want people to have access to medical attention. I think the challenge comes in is, the proponents of Prop 2 are very smart. They're positioning it that, we send all this money to Washington, so we should get it back. What they're neglecting to mention is that Idaho, I think, is a debtor state. We get more money from Washington than we give, number one. And number two, the federal government's very shrewd. And Russ Fulcher brought this up in one of his many debates, where the federal government does the bait and switch. They get you hooked on something, like Obamacare, and then all of a sudden they take away the federal money, and then the state has to pick up the cost. And right now, Idaho's doing very well. We're almost back up to the rainy day fund we had before the last crash. I think that's the major concern when it comes to it. But you won't hear that from the proponents of Prop 2. Again, I think their hearts are in a great place. It's just like everything, Christian, just figuring out how to pay for it. I'm sure someone will answer your questions about Prop 1 or Prop 2. Certainly I can't, but I'm sure someone will.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm just trying to make a decision, and
sure.
And sometimes how they present it, they don't tell me everything, so I don't, besides me going to the website and reading the bill myself,
right.
I'm trying to make a decision. So
Christian,
I appreciate it, Kevin.
Thank you for listening, sir. We appreciate you, brother. Take care.
Take care.
KIDO Talk Radio, more of your phone calls with Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to Blair in Boise. He wants to talk 14th Amendment on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Blair.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad for this time of day.
Well, hey, I just wanted to touch real quick. So what President Trump actually came out and said is that he's been told by some people that with a stroke of his pen that he can eliminate the birthright citizenship notion that unfortunately has come down through the federal courts. And I really want to see him try it. Not because I think it's constitutional, because in Article 1 of the Constitution, it specifically delegates to Congress, not the president, not the executive, and not the judicial branch, decisions regarding immigration and naturalization. Here's why I want to see it go to the Supreme Court. Because if the Supreme Court smacks it down, they also smack down DACA. Because you cannot separate those two. They were both executive orders. They both covered dealings with illegal aliens. If you smack down one, you automatically have to smack down the other one. And I think it would do great things to curb the executive branch in its overreach and at the same time force Congress to actually do its duty and pass immigration reform bills that have been sitting there for 30 years. What say you?
I am a big supporter of the president, but I would be scared to know constitutionally that any president could wipe out an amendment with an executive order. That's my opinion. Blair? Okay, we lost Blair there. This just in from the Daily Wire. Let's take a listen here on KIDO Talk Radio. Hillary Clinton.
I don't want to go around insulting people. I don't want to paint with a broad brush. Every immigrant is this, every African American is that, every, other person with, different religious beliefs or whatever. That's childish.
What do you think of Cory Booker's, and you didn't comment on him, and you feel free
to.
I
adore him.
What do you think about him saying kick them in the shins, essentially, start to get to that kind of political?
Well, that was Eric Holder.
Yeah, Eric Holder,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they all look alike.
No, they don't.
One more time.
Holder,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they. It was Eric Holder.
Yeah, Eric Holder,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they all look alike.
No, they don't. Oh, well done. Hillary.
Yeah, I was.
I
was paid by Mark Zuckerberg to do that.
Okay.
Only the left can get away with that comment. They all look alike. Let's go to Hillbilly CJ from Nampa, Idaho, with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Kevin, how you doing today, sir?
I'm still employed and grateful to have a job. And you, sir?
Absolutely, myself as well. The executive order that they're proposing is that, I guess, didn't Obama make health care an executive order and pretty much punish every citizen being born with a tax on their head?
He did a lot of things.
Yeah, so everybody's going after Trump for this. How come nobody went after Obama for abusing the Constitution in that way? Where's the accountability from the same people that support him are the same people that are going after Trump? It's like I have 4 kids, so if I punish one child for one thing, I don't punish the other one worse for the same crime. There has to be a standard, and or at least I feel there should be a standard even by our own party.
Well, there has to be a standard. There has to be rules. You just can't wipe things out.
Yeah. And as far as the shootings and everything that go on and a lot of this crime, I don't know if it's kind of parental blame, but I kind of see it as some of society's lack of ability to do their job as a parent. I have, like I said, 4 kids. I have three boys and a little girl. And I tell all my boys, jerks go to jail. Gentlemen will have every door opened up to them if you act like a gentleman. People will welcome you. If you act like a jerk, doors slam in your face. And I think more parents need to kind of adopt that kind of behavior. If you want the world to be open and available, you're going to have to act accordingly. So that's all I got, Kevin.
Nobody likes the jerk store. Hillbilly CJ, thank you.
You bet. Take care.
Take care. Coming up next, more of your phone calls. Scott, Dan, and our great friend Chris Troupis next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Our great friend, attorney at law, world traveler, man of the world, Chris Troupis joins us on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Before I talk about birthright citizenship, which is why I called, I want to tell you this. I really kind of owe you an apology, and I want to apologize to you, Kevin, because you have a tremendous radio program, and you are a treasure to conservatism in Idaho. And I just haven't called in a long time. I've withdrawn and gone and enjoyed my retirement. And but I apologize. I'd listen to you all the time, and man, you're the best.
Well, hold on. Before you get going, Chris Troupis, you live with us all the time, and we're gonna go back to the archives here.
People are more concerned about the Broncos than our country sinking into a quagmire.
Now, that's one of them. Of course, your more famous one was when you're talking, during the campaign and such, and go drink your beer, go drink your wine, we'll run the government for you. Now, we play that all the time, and people, they're going, who is that guy? Who did it? But that was you.
Well, those were the good old days.
Indeed.
And I really appreciate you keeping me relevant. This issue that's just come up, Kevin, this birthright citizenship, it is very relevant. And I really respect Tom and Blair. They both had good points. But I think that we're losing sight of the fact that what President Trump said is he's not going to abolish the 14th Amendment. He's simply calling for the proper interpretation of the 14th Amendment. And if you go back to the Citizenship Clause, that's the first sentence of the 1868 text of the 14th Amendment. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. And if you go back to the debates that Congress had in the ratification of the 14th Amendment before it went to the states, the debates, they pointed out that the subject to the jurisdiction meant that no children of diplomats or illegal aliens would become citizens of the United States, the children of. And I mean, it's right in the debates. And the reason for that is because those people are not completely subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They are still subject to the jurisdiction of the country they came from and that they have not yet given up their citizenship of. And so what President Trump is saying is, I'm going to pass an executive order that's no longer going to interpret the 14th Amendment as it has been interpreted since the Immigration and Nationality Act back in 1965 by Congress. And basically he's going to force the courts to take this up. I think it's a wonderful sidestep of Congress. I think it's a masterstroke to return the conversation a week before the elections back to immigration, which is the Republicans' winning issue. And I actually think that while he'll lose in the Ninth Circuit, which is where a case will be brought, I think he's going to win in the Supreme Court because they're going to say, you know what, we and Canada are the only two countries in the world that allow birthright citizenship, and our 14th Amendment is not been properly interpreted. The Citizenship Clause requires that you be completely subject to the jurisdiction of the United States when you are born.
Chris Troupis, we appreciate you, and I believe we have it here. Let's try it.
Go enjoy your beer and ride your ATV and watch sports. We'll run the country.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Bye-bye.